All right, I think we're live. Possible. Doesn't say. There we go. All right, now we're live for sure. Okay, happy Saturday. I've had such a fun morning here on the farm. Got up and I did Bella's hooves and I brushed my horse for the first time since before I left to Canada. That was literally the beginning of July. That is terrible. She definitely felt neglect. No, she didn't. She really doesn't like to be brushed. But her mane and her tail was just really, really gross. So I brushed her and did her hooves and really scratched her belly because in all reality, Vala just wants her belly scratched. She will follow people around the paddock and she like moves herself into you and is like, scratch my belly, scratch my belly. And she's a big horse, like she's not a little horse, but she's very gentle. She just really wants her belly scratched. But that's saying just how busy we have been since we got back to Canada because my goal was to go live last week, the week before, and it just didn't happen. When we were in Canada, we had a massive thunderstorm pass right on top of us, and it knocked out our well, it knocked out our salt system, it knocked, well, semi knocked out our internet, and then once the hurricane came through, then it really knocked out our internet for like 4 days. So it's just been like one thing after the other. The lightning strike like fried a lot of things in the house, and we've just been working to get everything fixed. And then, of course, at the same time, I have this burning desire to start my food forest. So I reached out to somebody to help me design the permaculture that we're going to be putting in to grow our own food. So much of my thoughts and energy has been researching because I have never grown any food anytime in my entire life. I've not grown a thing, not even a tomato. So of course now we're putting in this food forest. We're getting all these fruit trees. We're going to be doing a lot, and at the same time, I'm like, it's time to get chickens too. So all these things are happening, and live streams have kind of went to um, the wayside there. But today we've got a bunch of questions to go over. As always, anything you hear is for educational purposes only, and that's just a general liability that anybody giving any advice on Facebook has to do. So always talk to your doctor before making any changes to anything that you're doing. Just a reminder that the $500 off discount on my personal coaching package is ending today. If you haven't booked in an assessment and this is the first time that you're hearing about it and you want to get on that discount, then just book an assessment and use the keyword live stream and I'll extend that to you for Wednesday. But that's just for people who are just hearing about this and haven't heard it already. I will be sending out one more email today just as a reminder also. Okay, so let's dive right into the questions. That is definitely enough about the craziness that's going on here at our ranch. I call it a farm. My husband calls it a ranch. Most of the day he walks around. Oh, the other thing we started to do was we started to compost. So we'll just add it, and as he's like turning the compost, he's singing "Green Acres," a place to be. Yeah, so that's our life right now. So Mary asked, how do you know if you have issues like mold, parasites, or heavy metals? Everyone is talking about them, and is there a way to assist the body in clearing them? So everybody most likely has parasites. Maybe not parasites, but definitely protozoa, which are microscopic parasites. And it's definitely good for everybody to be doing a gut protocol every 3 to 5 years. But the caveat to that is if you go and do a 3 month gut protocol with biofilm busters that's actually going to be effective on parasites and protozoa, you're likely going to get really sick. You have to do a lot of prep work before even thinking about that. So that's getting your basic nutrients on board, running labs, seeing what your body needs, and you need to work on all 3 phases of detoxification. So I always start with foundation labs. Let's get every system in the body supported. Let's see what the detox pathways are doing. Let's put on support for phase 1 and phase 2. Get the body supported for a few months, and then phase 3, like a lot of moving the toxins out. So phase 3 is all about moving the toxins out. So we do that with like flushes and enemas, but I wouldn't start that until that prep work. work is done. And that's why so many people, they're not successful with their parasite protocols, they're not successful with H. pylori protocols, they're not successful doing anything because they're not preparing their body first and they're not preparing their detox pathways. So heavy metals, the same thing. I do not touch them until that prep is done. Every single person on this planet has a heavy metal issue. Every single person. It's in our water, it's in our food. Most of us on this planet have had a jabby-jabby-doo at one point of some type, and that is also massive amounts of heavy metals. It's in the air we breathe. We can't get away from it. We can't live in a bubble, but we can put detox support on board. But I do that very gently after rebuilding is done, after detox pathway repair is done, after the protozoa protocols are done, because the protozoa protocols, parasite protozoa protocols, gut work in general, hard on the body. We don't want to then, on top of that, throw heavy metals on board at the same time, because then the person gets really sick. And, I learned the hard way. If we were to rewind 8 years ago when I started my business and started working with people, I would do a parasite protocol right away if somebody was complaining of gut issues and it didn't work. Or I used to actually design my gut protocols that it included the heavy metal protocols because people wanted to get done faster. Well, it didn't work. People got too sick. So I stopped doing that. And it's why my protocol, like my packages, are at least a year long. Because if you're not in it for a year, we're not going to get these things done. And you're just going to go in circles trying things that are quick fixes. Now, when it comes to mold, and I don't test for heavy metals because everybody has them. I do test for parasites and protozoa with a biofilm buster and a para-wellness test. But again, that doesn't happen until like month 4, month 5 in my program. When it comes to mold, we're not going to ever get to zero mold. So I'll tell you a story. We moved into this house a year ago, and it was our first year ever being in Florida all year, like the whole summer. So we had never done a summer in Florida. And it gets, like last year was ridiculously hot. Hotter than, all the natives are saying that, oh my gosh, like this is the hottest summer we've ever seen. And so if it's like 110 degrees outside and you walk into a 72-degree house, it's like freezing. It's such a shock. So we didn't keep the house very low. We kept it at about 80 during the day, 78, 80, and then at night we'd bring it down to like 78 or 76, depending on how hot it was. So if it was a really hot day, then we let the house get hotter, so it wasn't a shock. Like you go in the pool, and then you come inside, and you're freezing. So this year, in about, I think it was February, we had somebody out to clean our dryer, and at the same time we had them do like a furnace check, and we found that our HVAC system was full of mold, and it still is full of mold, but a healthy body can handle the mold. Now if we were to rewind about 15 years ago, where I was in the middle of lupus and I was sick, I couldn't tolerate any mold. I wouldn't even be able to stay in this house right now. And all of us are perfectly fine and healthy, and don't worry, yes, we are going to remediate. Thankfully, we found a really honest mold company who's like, there's no point remediating in the summer when it's that hot. There's 100 times more mold outside in Florida. The mold spores in Florida in the summer are ridiculous. And she's like, leave it until it cools down, and then do it. We'll come in and we'll remediate. So we are going to remediate probably about November. But the thing is there's so many people focused on mold right now. It's either mold, candida, Lyme. What's another big one that people hyper focus on? Anyway, those are the 3 really big ones where people are like, this is causing all my symptoms. Now for mold, if you are living in black mold and your detox pathways are shot, you're going to have an issue. You need to either remediate or move, because your body cannot tolerate it. But a healthy body, it's why you can have 5 people in a house in mold and 1 person is sick. It's because their body can no longer handle the load. So body's like a bank account, and most people are making withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal on their bank account, and then it gets so depleted it can't handle any toxins, it can't handle anything without you feeling like you're going to die. You're barely functioning, you're just surviving. And what we need to do, if you're in that place, for sure you need to get out of the mold, you need to be as mold free as possible. But we want to rebuild the body. It's not all about getting the mold out. A healthy body, like my body, like Eric's body, like Caden's body, it's detoxing the mold all by itself. It's doing the job that it's meant to do. So our goal is to get the person into a mold-free environment or as mold-free as possible. I have seen people go bankrupt, literally bankrupt, going from one house to the next, and they always find some degree of mold. And we can't get away from it, especially if you live in a place like Florida. So we want to get as mold-free as we can, and then we want to repair the body. We want to repair the detox pathways, and it's so much more than just taking milk thistle or taking activated charcoal. Like, you actually need to run the labs. You need to see what phase 1 is doing. That's all CYP enzymes, and we need to see what phase 2 is doing, and that's like 7 subphases of phase 2. Methylation is a big one, and it's so much more than MTHFR. You need to see the entire pathway, and you need to get the right support on board, and you need time. Like, everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to take these binders and the mold's going to be out of my system. No, repair your detox pathways, add in gentle binders. My favorite is Toxiprevent, and give your body time to repair. That is so, so key. All right, so that is that one. I'm going to open up another window. I've got like a million tabs running right now, and see if I can refresh this. Jordan says, I'm so excited to see your garden. I can grow okra really well. It's a low maintenance crop. Yes, it definitely is. It's crazy. There's certain things in Florida that are like really low maintenance. Like, if you want to just drop some Everglade tomatoes, drop some sweet potatoes, it's just going to take over, and you will have hundreds of sweet potatoes, and they grow pretty well all year round. So we could literally survive on sweet potatoes. Where was I? Okay, this other question. Shelly says, natural help for sinus headaches and migraines. So sinus headaches, one of my favorite things to use is something called X-Clear. It's a xylitol spray. I definitely recommend that you spit it out. I'm not a big fan of ingesting artificial or natural sweeteners, but it does work really well for anything sinus related. It might be good to swab your sinuses, see what you're up against, if it's frequent. If you know the migraines are sinus related, there's also doctors that you can go to that will like do a CT scan of your head, and some people get like fungal balls and you can get them sucked out. So yes, there's definitely a lot you can do for your sinuses. My first thing that I would do is just use the X-Clear 3 times a day, see if it helps. A lot of it is allergy related. Like for me, I'm allergic to hay. I live on a farm. I always laugh about that. I knew I was allergic to hay. I didn't actually realize I'm also like IgE reaction to horses, and that's just like, oh well, not going to not have horses. It's been my passion since I was like 11. So dealing with the allergies can really help. So even like allergy, you can get like some pretty natural based allergy shots nowadays that are not all full of crap. So dealing with that can really help with your sinuses. What is the best option for hormones for a 52-year-old with ovaries, no uterus? So likely you are in menopause. I would definitely run a Dutch, and hormones really is it safe? So a lot of people have this mutation on their phase 1 detoxification pathways called CYP1B1, and it makes you really not able to process estrogen very well. And so naturally, the natural cycle for a woman is to have, this fluctuating cycle their entire life. Menopause kicks in, and that should start spacing out a little bit as we run out of eggs. And then we should hit menopause, and we don't have these hormones anymore. And if there weren't all these toxins and all that other burden on the body, this should be a very graceful transition. It shouldn't come with all these symptoms. It's not that we need more hormones, it's that we have these imbalances in our bodies. And normally, if we do that foundation that I was talking about, you can go into menopause and not really need a lot of extra support, because we can handle a lot of the symptoms with other things that we're doing. Now, for some women who do need support, it is so important to run the Dutch test, because it's going to show you how you're breaking down your sex hormones. And that's going to look at testosterone, and that's going to look at estrogen, because If you go, even if you take progesterone, that can interconvert to estrogen. That can interconvert to, cortisol. So we want to look at what's going on with your hormones, how are they being broken down? They're going to be very low, but we can still see how they're broken down. And if there's toxic estrogen there, it's really, you have to choose, do you want to take something that can possibly increase your risk of cancer? Or do you want to, look for other avenues, or do very low doses of the hormones while also supporting the detoxification pathways, right? So you can do low doses, support the detoxification pathways, run regular Dutch tests, and make sure it's safe, right? And that's so important. There's so many people that I see, they're postmenopausal, they're taking 200 milligrams of progesterone. That is a cycling female's range. I wouldn't even put a cycling female on that much progesterone. And these postmenopausal women who shouldn't be dealing with any hormones, their detox pathways shouldn't have to deal with this anymore. They're loading it on. They're not doing any support. And so this is where we really increase the risk of the female related cancers. So, use caution, run labs, and make sure you're doing it safely if you're going to use any bioidentical hormone replacement. And really look, if you have that CYP1B1 mutation, personally, I probably wouldn't even risk it. Or it would be such an extremely low dose, just if you're having like severe hot flashes, just to, tamper that down. But I would try the herbs first, like herbs like black cohosh and red clover, and do some flax seed or some flax oil. So try to get your phytoestrogens up, which is not going to have such an effect, and go that route if you can. And if not, really, really low doses. Like you don't want to turn off a hot flash and end up with cancer. It's not a good trade-off. Courtney says, I can attest to the needing to take the slow route and figure out what your body needs year 2 and still not ready for gut work. And you're one of the really wise ones who are being patient with your body, because so many people they're not. They just start getting frustrated. They want some type of quick fix, and it's not going to happen. It takes a long time. We put so much stress on our body. We all need to be like, good job, body. You're doing really good. Even if you're like suffering in excruciating pain, good job, body. Like you're really doing a good job. Everything out there is trying to kill you, and you're trying to keep me alive, like all the time. And so often we are totally going against the wisdom of our body to try to turn off a symptom, and we are making things worse. Okay, Raya says, chronic H. pylori infection, please help. So I kind of touched upon that. I didn't even realize this was one of your questions. I didn't look at this. But again, chronic H. pylori infection, you need to do the upstream work. You need to rebuild your body. You need to go in there and do your detox pathways. And then you want to work on the parasites and protozoa. You want to work on the H. pylori. H. pylori can take a long time. It's probably not the cause of all your symptoms. There's probably something else going on. SIBO is possibly there, but if it is there, run a GI map. You need a biofilm buster for quite a while. Like I don't run the GI map until after my clients are done the parasite protocol. So they've been on a biofilm buster for 3 months, and then we can see like H. pylori. Is it virulent? Is it actually causing issues? And is it actually higher than normal? Because 75% of the population has H. pylori, and it's doing absolutely nothing. It's not causing them any problems. So we want to check, is this H. pylori actually the problem? The majority of the time, it's something else going on, especially if you've tried to treat it and it's just not going away. So dig a little bit deeper and stop focusing so much on it. It's like people with candida. I see this all the time. People have symptoms, they go online, they read about candida, and the thing online is saying, oh yeah, every single one of your symptoms is caused by candida. And it's not the case. It's not the case. Candida is a result of your body being in a weakened state. And the only way you're going to solve it is by strengthening your body. And when you're doing crazy strict diets, cutting out all your carbs, you're weakening your body. When you're taking all these antifungals, whether natural or pharmaceutical is definitely a lot harder on your body. Again, you're weakening your body. You're causing resistance. You're just making it a lot harder for yourself in the long run versus doing this foundation work. It's so powerful, just getting on basic nutrients in the right form for your body and repairing your detox pathways and bringing balance to the different systems in your body. It's amazing. But oftentimes the candida is not even the problem. Oftentimes I run labs and it's not even there. It's pretty crazy stuff. People's minds are like blown, and then we have to reprogram them off of the candida diet, which that can be the biggest thing. If you give me a client who comes to me on a standard American diet, I'm like, oh yes, awesome, this is going to be so easy. You give me somebody who's on a strict diet, and I'm like, you're going to need 6 coaching sessions, because we're going to have to reprogram your thought pattern and get it so that you realize we have to fuel our body to heal. And cutting out all these foods and going on these strict diets is not the answer. Ryan says how to help with better protein absorption. So do some pancreatin at the end of meals, or you can add in, I like Digest Gold. It's a really basic digestive enzyme. Definitely don't do HCl or betaine, because one, it's going to affect your methylation pathway that you probably don't even know what's going on, and you're changing a pathway without seeing the pathway. So don't do that. 2, it also turns off your natural stomach acid. And 3, we're not meant to have high stomach acid all the time. It's only supposed to be in preparation for a meal. And there's so many things we can do with intuitive eating and food preparation to increase our stomach acid naturally. And I have a whole video on that on YouTube that I can post. Just write if you want me to post the video. Because as soon as you start taking that, you're turning everything off. It's kind of like people who go and start taking adrenal cortex when their adrenals are actually fine. They haven't done a Dutch test. They might have low free cortisol, so it's showing up low on a saliva test or blood work, but their metabolized cortisol is sky high. So their adrenals are fine. It's just being broken down due to stress. And then they go and take this adrenal cortex and they turn their adrenal glands off. So then it's really hard to turn it back on. So the same with your stomach acid, and it's why we also take the digestive enzymes at the end of the meal for the majority of people. So if you have a protocol out there, if you're one of my clients and I said take it at the end of the meal because you don't have a gallbladder or something at the beginning of the meal, I mean, if you have a protocol that I say take it at the beginning of the meal, that's probably because you don't have a gallbladder, or you're in a severe state of malabsorption or having some sort of issue. But the majority of people, we take our digestive enzymes at the end of the meal so that we're not turning off our natural production, right? We're assisting the body. We're not trying to do the body's job. Heidi says common causes of low estrogen and progesterone in females or female hormone imbalances, and Laura says increased cortisol causes. So they're kind of the same. Any stress on the body is going to increase cortisol because it's a stress response. Now, any chronic stress on the body, this could be emotional stress, this could be internal stress, so pathogens, issues with toxins, both can increase cortisol and decrease hormones. Because if you think about it, your body is not really concerned about procreation and making babies if you're running from a tiger all day. And that could be your thoughts. In your thoughts, your fear, you're afraid of things, you're stressed out, you're having arguments with your family, your friends, your job is stressful, or it could be that your body is just so taxed because of the toxic load and the toxic burden on it all the time that it's like reproduction, right? We're trying to keep you alive right now. We're not thinking about making a baby. We're going to turn these hormones off so you can't even get pregnant, or you can't even, it's not as much of an issue for men, but especially for females, the body's like, we can't survive. How are we going to grow a child? So the hormones go down. Sex hormone binding globulin goes up. The body is saying, no, there is too much stress. We do not need to reproduce at this time. So remove the stress. That's the biggest thing for both high cortisol and hormone imbalances, low estrogen, low progesterone, is remove the stress. Internal stress, external stress, it all needs to go. Now, the internal stress, that's the program. That's, the Heal Yourself program. That's what it does, is we are working on toxins, we're working on pathogens, we're working on metals, we're cleaning up our diet, we're reducing our toxic burden in our environment. And then with all of my clients, we're also doing mindset work, and working on our thoughts so that our thoughts are also not causing us to be in fight or flight. And we're also getting tools to work on our relationships and our job and how we look at the world. Because, Wayne Dyer said it, if you change the way you think, the way your world literally changes. And that's not a direct quote, but pretty close. So the more you reduce the stress on the body, the more you rebuild your body, the more the body is going to be able to have hormones in proper balance and think about procreation, and stress response is going to go down, and the cortisol level is going to go down as the body shifts into rest and repair versus fight or flight. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this page and see if I have all those questions. I do like to keep these to about 30 minutes. Today is a record. I am grads. For my grads watching this, I am doing the update to the business course this afternoon. Okay. There we go. Causes and fixing PCOS. So PCOS is going to be getting those foundation protocols on board, running your Dutch. We're going to see high testosterone levels and putting in support to bring that down. So anything, I really like the product called TestaQuench, but it's on back order right now, so we can't get that. So you're going to use like the same thing that a man would use to lower their testosterone levels or lower their toxic testosterone metabolites. So saw palmetto, nettle, pygeum, all of those are really going to help bring down those toxic testosterone metabolites. And then with PCOS, you're going to want to check your blood sugar, because also that can be elevated. You might need to add in some blood sugar support. I love the product, Biomatrix Support Glucose. It's one of my favorite ones to get started with. And again, supporting the foundation, looking at the thyroid, supporting the thyroid, getting those basic nutrients support on board to the right form for your body, addressing methylation. Huge important parts. It's not just about taking TestaQuench and a blood sugar support. You have to address the why. Fix the detox pathways. That's the biggest thing. All right, so let's refresh this again and see if we have any other questions or comments here. Carolyn said, I used to joke that Sandy must be a witch or something because her program works so well. Yeah, and now you're a practitioner and you get to do the exact same thing. So you are also a witch, and we have magic potions. Bobby used to always say that. She's an old client of mine, and she'd always say that Sandy has a magic wand, and she doesn't. She doesn't. I just know how to read the labs, and now other people, my other grads also know how to read the labs, like Carolyn, who is on this call right now. Good. Courtney says, I literally say that to my body every night. So yes, good job, body. I am always celebrating how well my body does, especially with my injuries. Like really, that is, I feel bad for my body with everything that I put it through, with all these injuries that I end up getting from doing silly things, oftentimes with horses or dogs. All right, so there's all of our questions. If you want to sign up for a health assessment, just send me a message or an email, info@motivatedtoheal.com, and we'll get you set up. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'm going to try to do these once a month. That's like my goal, because we have so much going on with the farm. If I have a lot of free time and energy, then I will do it every 2 weeks, but once a month at least. So we'll see you soon. Have a good one.